Okay, this is the dress for Marlena, and we shortened it about a good 8 inches because she's a lot shorter than her mom. It was her mom's wedding dress. We took in the back because she's shorter waisted, so they did new seams in through here, shortened the whole back end of the dress, and when it's finished, we're going to take this beautiful train that's on it, because it's got lovely lace, and then we're going to tack it up onto the dress so that she has a really nice, beautiful train in the back that won't drag on the floor. So the first thing we have to do, we've already washed the dress and got the stains out of it. There was just a couple stains. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the dress in water and we're going to get it wet. Everything has to be solidly wet. So when you put it in the dye, it doesn't just dye, you know, really dark in one spot and not in the other because it wasn't wet. So that's our next step. It really helps when you dye if you have large wash basins to do it in. I don't particularly like to do it in a washer, especially because I don't know for sure what we're going to get, and I would much be able to have hands-on with this than to just leave it to my washing machine. So I'm going to take it out now. I need something to put this in now. It's really important when you're dyeing that you use very, very hot water. So I'm not going to boil my water because I really don't have any way to safely bring it down the stairs. But I am going to use straight hot water. And then I'm putting salt in it because salt does have a tendency to help the fabric absorb the dye better. And we bought the liquid RIT only because it actually is a little easier to do. And this is 1 bottle for 2 pounds. I'm going to use 3 bottles because there's a lot of material I want it to dye evenly. And we're doing the royal blue. And I'm hoping we get some real interesting, not quite sure what the chiffon is going to do. Sometimes chiffon dyes very light and then the underneath is very dark. So we'll just have to wait and see. Important part of dyeing, make sure you have a pair of good rubber gloves that have nice long cuffs on them, because I really don't want to be called the glue lady for a week, and that sometimes you'll still get some dye on you. I have old clothes on because for the same reason. That's why they call it dye, because it is a permanent dye. And I'm using Amy's gloves. They're a little small for me, but I can get them on. She has smaller hands than I do. Okay, I've already added about 2 cups of kosher salt, and I'm going to start by shaking the RIT dye very well because there's always little particles that don't get done. And then I rinse out my jar, make sure I get every little bit. And that is a beautiful blue. So sometimes in the bottom of this, depending on how long it has sat on the shelf, you end up with a lot of your dye down in the bottom. And that looks pretty good now. Okay. 1. Even the bubbles are blue. Ooh. That is why we are diluting this. I don't think I get one of those. You look at this. That is dye. And if you don't thoroughly mix that in before you start dyeing, you're going to have a glob of that on your clothes. Usually that's from dye that's been sitting on the shelf a little longer than it should. Okay. I'll shut the water off now. Give this another really good shake, and then we have to stir it really good before we add the clothes. This one was okay. This one didn't have big glunky dye. I hadn't had one of those in a long time. And the fun part about dyeing a wedding dress is you never know what you're going to get. We've had some beautiful dresses and we've had some that were okay. Never had one I consider a disaster. But once you do it, it's done. Big stick, because you're going to need that. Push your dress down, making sure everything is evenly dyed. And see, we do have blue because we even turned the wood blue. Okay. I think we might be ready to add the dress. Okay. Bye-bye white wedding dress and hello blue. Already seeing some color change. And I'm probably going to let this sit about 30 minutes. And I will come back and stir it repeatedly just to make sure that the color is evenly put throughout the entire dress, including all the underneath layers, because we want all of it to dye. As you can see, we're already getting some really pretty color through the laces. I think that's good enough, and then we'll just come back in about 30 minutes and see what we have.
Okay.
Okay, we're finding that the chiffon is not going to be very dark, and neither is the underneath, because it's very difficult to know ahead of time what satin is going to do. Satin is not the easiest stuff in the world to dye, and chiffon is worse yet. We will probably end up with a very light periwinkle is what I'm thinking we're aiming for right now. If you look, this is kind of what we have. Now the lace, remember I told you, lace is a real different. Never quite sure on the lace, but the lace will stand out from the dress because it's going to dye better. Now Amy brought me a very, very light blue t-shirt of hers that she had gotten bleach on. It was a Concord shirt, and she wanted to know if I could dye it. Well, I want to show you what happens when you dye cotton. See, this is a royal blue. It's dyed so well that Concord barely shows. So, that's the difference in material. See? Chiffon, cotton. So, always be prepared. Don't have your heart set on a certain color because you're not going to get it. If you're dyeing 100% cotton, or if you're dyeing Chinese silk is another one that dyes beautifully. Raw silk, I mean seriously, 5 minutes you have all the color you want. This, we could sit here all day and it's not going to get much darker. But we're still going to continue soaking, but I did want to show you the difference in the material and how it dyes. Right. Well, it's been almost half an hour. Still are not very dark. I think this is what we're going to end up with. But I've been rinsing the cotton t-shirt, and it's on its 6th rinse because there was so much dye in the water. And you have to rinse it till the water is clear. If you don't, you're going to be wearing this dye on your body. So, just show you the difference, okay, after we get this wrung out a little bit. Okay. And that is the color we were aiming for that we didn't get. We got a couple really dark splotches, and I'm not quite sure if there was a stain on this shirt. It sometimes takes a dye more. But it still needs one more rinse. And then I'm going to start rinsing the dress. I'm going to rinse it until it's almost clear, and then I'll put it in the washer, and I'll put it on gentle, and I'll just do a rinse and a spin a couple times, then hang it up to dry. So we will let you see the next process in a few minutes when we get there. Thank you.
Okay. Now you're dripping dye all over.
I know we're ending up with light periwinkle. There's just no getting around it. That's the lace, because lace always dyes differently, which will make a real pretty accent on the dress. And this is for production. This is not anything somebody's going to wear to a party. This is a costume. So we do the best we can with what we're given, and it's fun. We'll just see what we got. Squeeze as much of the dye out as we can. Trying to find the top of the dress. I can hang out to the shoulders while I'm doing this. Lots of material here. Okay, there's the top of the dress. Let's see. You're going to notice the armpits from where they had sweated. That's the bad thing about dyeing. You end up with this, and I don't quite know what to do, but that's one of those things. Okay. This has a lot of layers to it. So we'll just start rinsing.
In cold water.
Oh, and always use cold water. We knew ahead of time the chiffon was not going to dye very dark. That was very obvious from the get-go. And I've dyed enough dresses with chiffon on them to know that it's almost impossible to do. So we'll just see what we end up with. Well, when I told you never know what you're going to get, you never know what you're going to get. With 3 bottles of dye, we thought we were getting a light lavender, and we ended up with pink. And it was soft pink, and I'm not quite sure what it's going to end up with. So you have your blue trim, very pale. Not even sure what color to call it. But, you know, it will be pretty. And it will be unique, and it will be one of a kind, because a dyed dress is always one of a kind. You'll never know what you get. But I think it will still turn out really pretty. We're going to put it, I'm doing the cold water bath right now, getting as much as the loose dye out of it as I can. And then I'm going to put it in the washer and rinse it a couple times, and once it's done with that, then we will show you. Right now, this is the bust.
I'll turn to the side a little bit.
And that's going down the back. We do have some dark staining here from deodorant that apparently did not come out when I washed it. And chemically, sometimes that happens. But happens even in your real clothes, so, you know. Just the way life goes. Okay. So off the washer it goes, and then we'll go from there. Not dark at all. Was under the armpits. Okay. Lay it out in here as best we can. We have it around the washer. And we'll close the lid. And we're going to do a rinse and spin on cold, medium, And go. Okie dokie. Let's see how blue my hands dyed. Cold. Whoop, a little blue on the wrists. I went under a couple times. I felt it. Well, that one's okay. Oh, I'll be alright. Okay. We'll come back down in about 20 minutes and check and see what we got. Okay. I haven't checked. Let's see what we got.
It's still pink.
Okay, let's hang her up to dry. And that's the front. Okay. And there's our stains from deodorant that did not come out. Not much I can do about that. But once your arms are down, it's going to be covered anyways. But okay, now all the layers underneath. There is the chiffon. It's on top. This got another chiffon layer. And then we have satin, and it didn't dye any other different colors. And then underneath all of this, we have a slip that's nylon. And nylon just doesn't dye. So, okay. That is our final. We do have a really beautiful contrasting lace. I love the lace. That's pretty. Different than what we thought we were going to get, but oh well. That is dyeing in a nutshell.